Now let's summarize the ideas around using action to conquer fear and to build confidence and get moving towards success. First, be active, not passive. Strive to be someone who does things. Be a doer, not a don'ter. Don't wait until conditions are perfect to act. Conditions will never be perfect. Expect future obstacles and difficulties and solve them as they arise. Remember that ideas alone won't bring success. It's important to dream, but your ideas have value only when you act on them. Use action to cure fear and gain confidence. Do what you fear doing, and the fear of doing it disappears. Try it and see. Don't waste time getting ready to act. If you have trouble getting started, use the mechanical method to move your spirit. Don't wait for the spirit.
We're talking about self-confidence and the things that help build it, as well as the things that can destroy it. One of the major obstacles to building self-confidence is often your own memory. Lack of confidence is one result of what I call a mismanaged memory. Here's how a mismanaged memory works.
Your brain is a lot like a bank. Every day you make thought deposits in your mind bank. And these thought deposits grow and become your memory. When you settle down to think, or when you face a problem, in effect, you say to your memory bank, "What do I already know about this?" Your memory bank automatically answers and supplies you with bits of information relating to this situation that you've deposited on previous occasions. Your memory, then, is the basic supplier of raw material for your new thought. Now, the teller in this memory bank of yours is very reliable. He does exactly what you tell him to do. If you approach him and say, "Mr. Teller, let me withdraw some thoughts I deposited in the past proving I'm inferior to just about everybody else," he'll say, "Right away, sir. Recall how you failed 2 times previously when you tried this? Recall what your 6th grade teacher told you about your inability to accomplish things? Recall what you overheard your fellow workers saying about you last week?" And so on and so forth. This teller will continue digging out of your brain thought after thought that proves you're inadequate. But suppose you visit this memory teller and you give him this request. "Mr. Teller, I face a difficult situation. Can you supply me with any thoughts that will give me reassurance?" And again, the teller says, "Right away, sir." But this time, he delivers thoughts you deposited earlier that say you can succeed. Recall that excellent job you did in a similar situation before? Recall how much confidence Mr. Sawyer placed in you. Recall the respect your friends have given you for your abilities in this area, and so forth. Your teller lets you withdraw the thought deposits that you want to withdraw. After all, it's your bank. So there are 2 specific things you can do to build confidence through efficient management of your memory bank. First, deposit only positive thoughts in your memory bank. After all, everyone faces plenty of unpleasant, embarrassing, and discouraging situations. But unsuccessful and successful people deal with these situations in opposite ways. Unsuccessful people dwell on them and make them prominent in their memory. They don't take their minds away from them. At night, the unpleasant situation is often the last thing they think about. Successful people, on the other hand, don't give these situations another thought. Once they've gotten through them, they don't put them in the forefront of their memories. Quite the contrary. Successful people specialize in putting positive thoughts into their memory banks. Imagine what would happen to your car's engine if you scooped up a handful of dirt every morning and put it into the crankcase. That engine would soon be a mess. It wouldn't be able to do what you wanted it to. Negative thoughts have the same effect on your mind and your confidence. They produce needless wear and tear on your mental motor. They put you on the side of the road while others drive ahead. So get in the habit of depositing positive thoughts into your memory bank. Just before you go to sleep, count your blessings. Recall the many good things you can be thankful for. Your family, your friends, your health. Recall the good things you saw people do today and the good things you heard them say. Recall your own personal victories and accomplishments, large and small. Go over the reasons why you're glad to be alive. The second thing you can do to build confidence through efficient management of your memory bank is to withdraw only positive thoughts from it. When you're alone with your thoughts, driving your car or having a quick lunch, or maybe on a business trip alone in the evening, don't dwell on whatever problems or troubles may be in your life at the moment. Remember instead the positive things, the good times you've had, the successes, the reasons that you're doing as well as you are. Mental health professionals tell us that some people create, in effect, their own private museums of mental horror by excluding positive thoughts from their memories and dwelling on negative ones to the point of obsession. These are obviously extreme cases, but many of us tip the balance to the negative in our memory banks, and that can often impede our personal progress. And whether the psychological problem is big or little, the cure comes when you learn to quit drawing negatives from your memory bank and draw positives instead. Don't build mental monsters. Refuse to withdraw unpleasant thoughts from your memory bank. When you remember situations of any kind, concentrate on the good part of the experience. Forget the bad. If you find yourself thinking about the negative side, turn your mind to something else. Take a nap, go for a bike ride, work in the yard. You don't need negative thoughts. You can live much better on a pure diet of positive ones. The encouraging thing that you'll discover if you practice these attitudes is that your mind will cooperate with you. Your mind really doesn't want the negative thoughts. If you ignore them, your teller will eventually cancel them out of your memory bank.
One of the most common mental monsters we build is our impression of other people and how we measure up to them. People often fear other people. Why is it? Why do so many people feel self-conscious around other people? And what can we do about it? Fear of other people is a big, big fear. But there is one way to conquer it. You can overcome that fear if you learn to put people into proper perspective.
I remember when I was inducted into the Army back in 1942, I was a very shy, confused young man, and I thought that everybody was bigger than I was, stronger, smarter, in every way superior to me. And my experience in the induction center really taught me something different. I saw maybe 1,000 people come through there who were tall, skinny, smart, dumb. In any event, they were all just almost as confused as I was. In fact, in many cases, much more confused. So I started gaining a sense of worth about myself, realizing that the people that are my peers are just as confused and just as scared as I am about this world that we're entering into.
When this event became real is when you enrolled yourself. Before that, it was an idea. And there's lots of people who intended to be here, but they never locked it in. So I lock it in advance, because if I hadn't locked it in after Date with Destiny, there's no way I would have got on a plane, flown all the way there, and then put myself in a room for 7 days and nights. But I'm grateful I did. And I only did it because I already locked it in place. So I encourage you, number one, figure out at least twice a year, what are you going to go to that's going to make you grow and expand? How many of you feel like these last couple of days have been some of the most growth you've had in a couple of days here? Say aye. Then why settle for this one time? Again, I'm happy to do it with you. I have other programs if you want to come, but you're not limited to me. I don't care where you go. But before you leave here, you should schedule what's next. Do you know why? Because how many were looking forward to this for a long time and very excited about this? I'm curious. How many were quite scared about this shit? By the way, I'm curious. But here's what's interesting. After you achieve a goal, have you ever done this? Worked your ass off, achieved a goal, and you feel good, and then there's kind of a drop. Because we need something compelling to be going after, so we keep growing. So I always, right before I achieve a goal, I immediately set what the next thing is, and I lock it into my schedule, because otherwise there's that drop. And if I have the next thing, it's like you're going from peak to peak, as opposed to peak to drop to peak to drop. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say aye. And the other thing I've learned, I taught this to all my children. And one time my daughter was talking to me, and she's like, Dad, you're so brilliant. And I said, you're absolutely right. And I said, honey, I am a smart human being. I've worked hard to be a smart human being, but probably my greatest gift is I do not let opportunity escape my grasp. If there's an opportunity and it scares me, if there's an opportunity and I don't have the time, if there's an opportunity and I don't have the money, in the early days of my life, all three of them, I didn't have time, the money, and I was fearful. I make myself do it because I know that if I don't get myself to do that, I'm not going to keep growing. My teacher, Jim Rohn, used to teach me this. He said, Tony, if you really want to have an amazing life, you got to learn to stretch yourself. I said, well, I do stretch myself. He goes, well, let me give you my philosophy of stretching. He said, stretching means if you find yourself saying I can't do something, then you must say I must do it immediately and do it with no hesitancy. Because if you hesitate, it's like the firewalk. If you went up to the firewalk, most of you got up there, made your move, and rocked. Some of you got up there and were like, fuck, oh, shit, oh, what am I doing here? And the longer you wait, the what it is. harder it is. So you just train yourself to just do it. Instinctively push yourself. So if I say I can't, then I must. Now, when he first told me this, I said, well, if I can't, I must. If I can't jump off a cliff, then I must. He said, no, be intelligent. But he said, if you find yourself saying, I can't do something, I don't want to do something, but you know if you made yourself do it, you're going to be a better human being, then you must do it. Don't hesitate, do it immediately. And so some people say, well, that's not a very safe life. That's not a very secure life. If you want security, go to prison. If you want freedom, this is how you live. So once you've got events where you're going to make huge growth, the next thing you want to do, throw it up to number 2, is you really want to get yourself a coach or a mentor. Why do you want a coach or a mentor? You're smart. Well, I got a series of mentors. I've got 3 men in my life who are the smartest humans I know, some of the most successful people in the world in business, spiritually, emotionally well-developed. They're 18 to 20 years my senior. And guess what? I come to them all the time for accountability and feedback. Because as much as I know to drive myself, you don't do brain surgery on yourself even if you're a brain surgeon. Does it make sense? You need some feedback from the outside because you're still in it. And so getting a coach is critical. Now I get paid $1 million a year to coach someone and I only take on 7 clients and I got now a 5-year waiting list. So I'm not looking for any coaching clients. But I've trained all of my coaches to do the same things I do and they don't charge $1 million a year, not even close. So you can use our coaches if you want or someone else, but what you don't want to do is have a friend be your coach. Why? I'll give you an example. A few years back, I was on this talk show that's in the morning. I won't mention the name, but it has a bunch of ladies. What's the name of it? The View. That's right. I won't mention it. And I was on The View, and it was when Barbara Walters was still on, and Barbara's a brilliant, amazing lady. And they had me on in January, and I was doing a piece on New Year, New Life, how to transform your energy and your body. And when I was done talking, it was a little 7-minute segment. All 5 women, I guess it was, 5 women followed me into the green room, literally, during the break. And they said, listen, before the TV comes back on, we want to do this. You know, tell us more. How are we going to do this? And we want to do this together. And when they said they wanted to do it together, I was like, hold it. I said, can I be direct with you on this? I said, Barbara, you know how much I respect you and all of you, but can I be direct? They said, well, yeah. I said, well, I respect you. You're some of the best in the world at what you do as journalists. I said, you have an incredible show, #1 of your show. You've been in the years. Barbara, you're a role model for anyone who wants to be successful, man or woman, but there's an area of your life none of you have mastered. It's your body. I'm not being harsh. I have to tell the truth because the truth is how you get to the things to change. And you should have seen him look around and be like, oh my God, he just said we're fat. I didn't say they're fat. I said you haven't mastered this area of your life. And I said, here's the problem. If you guys get together now and none of you have mastered this area and you're all friends, you'll do this for 2 or 3 days, but about the 3rd or 4th day in, one of you's going to go, I want to go to Starbucks and have a mocha smocha something, whatever that shit's called, right? And someone else can say, no, we got to work out. And they go, but look, can't we just stop for a few minutes? And then someone else will say, well, we can stop for a few minutes. And then you're fucked. Because you'll break the pattern. I said, have you ever done this before? And they started shaking their heads. They said, it's happened multiple times. I said, don't do this together. I know you love each other. That's why you shouldn't do it together. Get a professional. When you go, I want to mocha smoke, they'll go, shut the fuck up and run! You need someone who's not going to listen to your bullshit and is going to push you until you develop the discipline, until you develop the skill. And even then, they're going to know the little things, the 2-millimeter things you don't know that could save you a decade. How many follow this? Say I. So don't get a good coach, get an outstanding one. And the problem is I created the coaching industry. Before I came along, no one called himself a coach in this industry. There wasn't this industry. You got to be a therapist and you got to prove by insurance. And I came along and said, these therapists are sitting down with people for 7 effing years and I can wipe out that phobia in 20 minutes or an hour. And so I went around and I said, I got to figure out who I am. I'm not a motivator. I never was. You know, I'm not a guru. What am I? And I thought, well, as an athlete, who influenced me the most were my coaches. And many of them were not as good as I was, but I'm in the game. I'm in the forest. They're outside of it. They could see things and give me cues, and they cared about me. So I said, that's what I am. Forget athletics. I'm a coach. I love people. I'm not better than they are, but I'm going to see things they can't see because this is my focus, right? And so I did that, and for many years I called myself a coach. No one did, and I remember I was on Larry King Live, and I just started coaching President Clinton, and he goes, what is this coaching thing? You're not a coach. You don't coach athletes. I said, well, actually I do, but I said, no, here's what I mean by coach. And I was about to give it up, and like within the next 6 months, everybody was a coach. Therapists started calling themselves coaches. Financial planners started calling themselves coaches. It became a term of art. Now I hate it. You know why? There's no standard, right? Anybody can say they'll call themselves a coach. Anybody go out there and do it. They go to some class, some idiot teaches them 3 skills. They've never produced the fucking result in their life, and they're a coach. So I feel like I created a bastard industry. And so like any industry, there's good and bad. You got to find somebody who's outstanding. Don't settle for somebody who's good, and don't settle for somebody because you like them. Because liking them is a nice thing. You need somebody who has the skill to get you there. Who's with me on this? Say aye. And why do we want to coach? So you measure at least twice a month, some of you 3 times a month. Because if you don't measure, you can't manage what you don't measure. Does that make sense? And you got to measure it, and it's easy with your children, with your life, with your businesses. You're going to get caught up. You need somebody helping you to stay on target for what you want for your life. How many follow? Say aye. And it's cheap. Most coaching is inexpensive, and the people that overcharge, don't go to them. But get somebody who's really great. And then finally, thirdly, and this is what I want to show you this morning, you need a daily practice. And a daily practice that's going to put you in the best state possible regularly. And so there's 2 parts of the daily practice. One is you want to feed your mind every day for at least 30 minutes. And when I say feed your mind, my teacher Jim Rohn used to say, miss a meal, but don't miss reading for 30 minutes. And I don't mean reading the web or your social media bullshit or Twitter. I mean reading a real book that you've selected because it's going to make you grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially. Something that makes you think, something that gives you a strategy, not some cute little blog post that you can read in 5 minutes. I mean something that's going to make you not be mental candy, something that's going to produce a different result. Because our lives are the result of the input. Input a bunch of garbage, you get garbage out. So I would never miss reading, and then I started listening to audios when I was really young. And the great thing about audios is you can do what I call net time, no extra time. So the biggest challenge we have is, when am I going to read? When am I going to do this? When am I going to do all these things? The answer is, it doesn't take any extra time. If you use net time, you can do it while you're cleaning the house, while you're working out, going for a walk. When you're driving in your car, should be your new university, where you're feeding your mind. Because if you don't feed your mind, weeds grow automatically. You don't have to work on growing weeds. They're going to be there if you don't do something to replace it. So every day, 30 minutes of either audio or a book, something that's going to make you grow. It'll feed your mind. It'll keep the momentum going. So this won't be just the one burst. This will be the one that got you going. And then you keep the momentum by doing this. And then finally, and most importantly, many people, the most silly question I'm asked in the media all the time for 40 years is, don't you have bad days? Don't you get upset? Don't these things happen? Of course, but I said I don't stay there. I've trained myself like an athlete trains their muscles. I've trained my emotional muscles, which, by the way, I think your emotional and spiritual muscles are the most important ones. Courage unused, does it grow or shrink? Which one? Faith unemployed, unused, does it grow or diminish? Diminishes. Passion unexpressed, does it expand or shrink? So the most important muscles that change your life are those mental, emotional, spiritual muscles. If we develop them more, we're going to experience more. So the way I do that is through a process I call priming. And this is the part that I really want you to get, because it's really simple. Most of us, have you ever seen someone do something and thought to yourself, what the F is wrong with this idiot? Who's ever had that thought? How many of you ever done something yourself and thought, what the F am I doing? Okay? Many times we think we're thinking our own thoughts when we're not. We've been primed by the environment to think a certain way, and we don't even realize it. Now, sometimes that's done consciously by marketers or advertisers. That's a simplistic example. But a more powerful example is what happens in your daily life. So let me give you a couple examples so you become aware of the power of priming, and then I want to show you how you can consciously prime your own mind and body and emotion so you naturally go where you want to go as opposed to hoping you go there. So some of the studies on priming have shown that what you think are your thoughts actually got there because something in the environment that you're no longer noticing. So an example of this would be, they did a study and they took 2 actors and they both approached 100 people each, and the actors were designed to do the exact same thing. They walk up to people, they have the same facial expression, and they'd say, well, you're sitting there, excuse me, could you hold this for me for 1 second while I grab my phone? And they hand you this cup of coffee, and then they reach in their pocket to get their phone for 2 seconds, and they put it back real fast, and they go, thank you so much, and they take it back. And every time they did it exactly the same way with all the people, 200 people, 100 each. Each person did 100 people, but 50 of those people they gave hot coffee to. 50 of the people they gave iced coffee to. Now listen to this. This is mind-boggling. After 35 to 45 minutes roughly, a person walks by outdoors or at the mall, wherever they did this. They have a checkboard, clipboard, and they go, excuse me, we'll give you $20 if you'll give us 3 minutes of your time to read these 3 paragraphs and answer 2 questions. 95% of people do it. $20, 3 minutes, I'll do it. And they read these 3 paragraphs, which is this story about this main protagonist. And then the 2 questions are, tell us what's the first emotion that you link to the main character, and what's the second one? Those are the two questions. When they do this with people they handed hot coffee to, 80% of the people, 81% to be exact, roughly 80, 81, say that the person they read the story about is generous and warm. Sometimes they add the word loving, but generous and warm is always there. The people who had the exact same presentation 34 or 40 minutes earlier were given iced coffee, 80%, there's a 1% difference, which is statistically irrelevant. 80% of them say the person is cold and uncaring. And the only difference is 35 or 40 minutes earlier, somebody handed you a hot or cold cup of coffee. That's wild, isn't it?
I recruited Charlie A. on that military base that he drove by on the way to Pelican Hill. On the base, he was in full fatigues. Rich Thawley walked me around his vineyard. I was trying to recruit him. He recruited me. Thank God. And guess what? I found someone. I went, oh, I'm not kidding you. I went, he's like Rod. He sees it. He's like my grandpa. He's like Papa. He sees me. He sees what I can be. He really cares about me. I want to be like him, and he cares about me. He was instantly my leader, and to this day he does. I'm going to get a text message. It's probably already there. I love you. I believe in you. It's the best you've ever done. Thank you. He always does it. He loves me. That's what a leader is. We're looking for those leaders. You got to face your Ray-Rays in life. You got to rise up. You got to make your dreams a reality and live a damn masterpiece. You know this. Now, here's the thing. Couple things. You got to make a decision. Listen to me. You got to make a decision. What's the decision? What's the thing you came here for? Now we're at the moment. The clock is ticking. People say all the time, hey, life is short. Let me tell you something. Life can be long. You bury your dreams. You quit this. Life gets long. See, time's relative. 2 minutes of you being with your sweetie, doing whatever you like to do with them, that can go by quick, right? What's about the last 2 minutes on a treadmill? Does that not seem like it goes by for like 4 hours, right? So if you're enjoying it, it's short. If it's painful, it's long. Life can be long. You want a life that feels like it's flying by. You want a life like I have right now where I go, can I just press pause? Can I just press pause? It's so good. It's so great. It's so rewarding. It's so awesome. But I don't really want to press pause because I know it can get better. So what's the decision? What have you been sitting on? What is it? Is it, people are texting me, hey Ed, I submitted my resignation last night. I'm coming full time. I walked away from a 6-figure job. Is that the decision? Is it the decision to finally get serious? Is it the decision to get licensed? Is it the decision to stop worrying about what people think? Is it the decision to become a great closer? Is it the decision to something in a relationship you have you need to get out or into and shake it? Is it a decision to get off of some drug or alcohol you're on? What's the decision right now? What is it? Be honest with yourself. What's the decision? You know what it is? It's sitting right in front of you. You knew it when you came in here, and now me and your family are bringing it back up. What's the decision? What have you been hesitating on? What are you afraid of? Face it right now. What do you need to decide? Is it getting aggressive? Is it believing in yourself? Is it reaching out to somebody? Is it a recruit you've missed? Is it coming full time? I don't know what it is for you. What's the decision? Maybe there's someone in your life that you need to get out of your life. Maybe there's someone you need in it and you need to tell them you love them and get them back in it. I don't know. But I know this. It's only a thought if you don't take an action. The difference between a thought and a decision is an action. So we know and you just decided and you know what it is. You know what it is. You will have really decided if within this next hour you took some step towards it. Something. A note you write, a text you send, a decision you've made, something you do that you follow up with the action to make it real. We will know that if within this hour or in this moment, maybe you just wrote it down. Boom, that's a step. Maybe you've scheduled it. Maybe you've put a date on it. Maybe you're feeling it right now. Maybe you can feel them talking to you right now about it because they know too, because they love you. I want you to think about something real quick. See, there's a book being written about your life, isn't there? Someone somewhere is taking inventory of your life. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10. You write your own book. And at any moment in your life, you can decide that you want to make this the new chapter. You're literally in your life, you can turn the page. And those previous chapters are your old book. It's like Old Testament, New Testament. Old story, new story. They're connected, they're related, but you can flip the page and you can have a whole new story. If you decided right now, I am literally turning, my breakthrough is I turn the page, and in this second, I start to write the best chapters of my life. You could decide to do that. It would be our honor, our privilege. Your life is precious to me. I prayed for you before I came out here. We love you. You can see the emotion on our faces. You matter. Many of us stopped doing this for money a long time ago. You matter. Your family, your life is our privilege to be involved with it. It's our honor to be any way connected with you, not to do business with you, to do life with you. We want to help you write those chapters. We can help you see what it'll look like. We can give you a peek, but we can't do all the writing for you. You got to decide it. See, I hope you feel like the best chapters of your life are in front of you. I hope you got this sense sitting here right now that, my God, I think I'm changing. I think I'm going to make a shift. I think I'm going to a different life. I think I'm going to write a new chapter. I'm turning the page of my life. It's going to be the best time of my life. How many of you feel that way? Yes? Then guess what? You've had a breakthrough. You had a breakthrough. That's why you came here, was to get to this second, this moment. Now, in that moment, listen close. Can you hear them? What are they telling you? What are they telling you? What are those people telling you? They loved you. They believe in you. They're proud of you. They want you to honor them. They'll be with you all the way. They want you to write those best chapters of your life. See, they know how magnificent your life's supposed to be. They've always seen you since you were a little boy or a little girl. In the Lord's case, before you even came here, He's always seen you in the highest, most possible great version of you. And they want you to do it. I promise you, if you listen, they're whispering words to you of encouragement. You can feel it. You can feel the belief. You can feel the faith. You can feel you turning the page. You can feel the breakthrough. I hope that you feel that in your heart. I hope this experience this week has been life-altering for you. We love you.
Now that takes us to the next level. If it's hard, why do people do it? You ask people who do things. Why do they go it? People who climb mountains just for the sake of it. Nobody paying them to do it. Just do it. Somebody said, I'm going to run around the world. He said, well, why would somebody want to do that? I'm going to swim the Atlantic Channel. Why? Why do people do that? I wondered, why would a Nelson Mandela give up 26 years of his life? Why do people do that? Here's what I discovered in high school. High school, I decided I wanted to go out for football. Never forget this. And I discovered why people do things. You know why, ladies and gentlemen? Even though it's hard, it's worth it. It's worth it. See, one day we had Coach Alkin Hepburn had this plaque down there and this wood on the floor, on the ground. He said, Brown, come over here. I had my suit on. I said, yes, sir. He said, I'm going to have old Larry Littles down there. Old big Larry. Yes, sir. Big, fat, sorry Larry. Yes, sir. Brown, I want you to get down bull neck. Yes, sir. He said, I want you running Larry. I want you to put your helmet right in his pit, right up and hit his chest and knock him off that board. You hear me, Brown? You can do that. Yes, sir. Can you do that? Yes, sir. I said, hubba, hubba. I said, hubba, hubba. He said, Brown, I want you to knock him off. You're going to make the team. I know you can get him. All right. Look at him. How sorry he is. Knees knocking and everything. I said, yes, sir. Then he went down to Larry. Larry Littles, who played 12 years for the Miami Dolphins, all pro for 12 years. This is a bad, big dude. 250 pounds, strength, agile, and all muscle. He said, Larry, he said, man, you know Brown down there. He's down there talking about your mama and everything. He talked about how fat and sorry you are and how he's going to knock you off this board. Larry now spitting fire and growling and foaming at the mouth. And I'm looking at Larry saying, oh, hubba, hubba. He said, look at that fool down there growling. He told me he's going to scare you that you're going to leave. Are you going to leave? No, coach, I ain't going to leave. Go down there and knock him out the park. Boy, coach got back. He winked at me. Go get him, Brown. I went, hard. I ran into Larry with my helmet. Larry said, boom. I don't know where I landed. When they woke me up, I said, can y'all take this helmet off me for a minute? I said, y'all got any more positions out here? They said, like where? I said, don't y'all need an announcer? I said, Brian, where you going? I was crying. They said, man, some girls over there. I said, I don't care, man. I'm hurt. I said, that fool almost killed me, man. He said, Brian, you quit, man. I said, yeah. I said, what? I said, it ain't worth it, man. No, it ain't worth it. Y'all go ahead. Y'all crazy. I'll be your announcer, man. I was calling the game. I was up there in the booth. Call good games, too, because the pain wasn't worth it. And I'm saying to you, you know why people do what they do? The people who go after their stuff, what makes it worth it? It's got to be your passion. You got to love it, ladies and gentlemen. You got to love it. It's got to be what you are supposed to do. You want to sing, and even though they want to invite you to Carnegie Hall, you're going to sing to anybody that listen to you, including singing to yourself. I used to talk to my plants when nobody else would listen to me. You got to write, even if no one published your book, write, because that was given to you to do. You do what it is you're supposed to. You're supposed to build something. You're supposed to create something. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Do whatever is required. Just go out there.
Old Testament says a unique scenario unfolded according to the law, and that was they worked 9 years, and the 10th year was a sabbatical. The 10th year, work 9, take the 10th year, and not just to relax, not just to replenish, not maybe just to get physically in shape. Change of pace, we call it in the modern society, but not just for that. I'm sure that in ancient days, that sabbatical was to go over the last 9 years, what went right and what went wrong, and what worked well and what didn't work well. And how did you grow, and how did you learn, and how did you change, and what have you got now after 9 years that you didn't have at the beginning of the 9 years? See, that's so valuable, a sabbatical, some time. There's also something to be said for solitude when you reflect. Sometimes you can reflect with somebody. Husband and wife reflect on the past year, right? Parents reflect with their children on the past year. How did we do it, and how didn't we do it, and how could we improve? Colleagues can reflect with each other. But now here's one of the most important. You got to learn to reflect with yourself. There's something to be said for solitude. There's something to be said for taking those occasions to shut out the world and shut out everything else for a while. I've got a motorhome. That's how I do it. With my motorcycle on the back. And I head for the mountains and ride the Jeep Trail, where there's very few human beings on the Jeep Trail, or out in the desert somewhere. It's called my time to get away. When you live a very public life, you treasure solitude, a chance to reflect, go back over my life, go back over my skills, go back over my experience, alone. There are some things you need to do alone. Ponder, think, wonder, read, study, absorb, soak in, see if you can't become better this year than you were last year, better the next 9 than you were the first 9. Solitude. There's even a more modern advice that says, go to the closet for time of meditation, time of prayer. Go to the closet. Closet meaning what? Away. And there's even a graphic description of the away. It said, enter into your closet and what? Got some students here, I'm sure. What? Close the door. For what? Just to shut out everything. Life is experience, and touching and seeing and looking and doing and acting and disciplines and all the stuff. But sometimes, this is where this reflecting is so important, to shut the door, and wonder, prayer, contemplation, thinking, and let things move in to your consciousness and awareness that no other way can it be done, right? Flying down the freeway, I'm telling you, it's difficult to get through. So many things to do, it's difficult to get through. But times of solitude, times to reflect. So this is so valuable. Learn to reflect. Now here's why it's important to reflect. To make the past more valuable to serve you for the future. Here's what's really powerful. Learning to gather up the past and invest it in the future. Gather up today and invest it in tomorrow. Gather up this week and invest it in the next week. Gather up this year and invest it in the next year. See, that's so powerful rather than just hanging on one more year, hanging in there, seeing what's going to happen. Learn, study. This is part of the personal development quest. Becoming better than you are, more valuable than you are, not just in terms of economics, in terms of motherhood, in terms of fatherhood, in terms of being a better brother, a better colleague, making a better contribution to the family, to society, to the community, to the church, to the office, to the commitment, to the partnership. Doesn't matter what it is that has value. Work on yourself. Then you bring more value to the partnership, to the marriage, to the franchise, to the corporation, to the enterprise, to the community, to the nation. Self-development, personal development. The best contribution you can make to someone else is self-development, not self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice only earns contempt. Self-development earns respect. Pity the mother who says, I'm just going to give up my life for my children. Self-sacrifice is not noble. Self-investment is noble from self-development. If I work on myself and become more valuable, think of what that'll do for our friendship. I used to use the old expression, you take care of me and I'll take care of you. I found out how shallow and short-ended that was. And I changed it to read like this, I'll take care of me for you, if you will please take care of you for me. And this is part of it, the personal development, that we work harder on ourselves than we do on our job. Now we bring that to the friendship. Now we bring that to the marriage. Now we bring that to the family relationship as a father, as a mother. And we develop the strength and we develop power. And it takes, I think, this scenario of discipline, these abilities, to acquire those gifts and those skills, that value, so that we bring more.
The more successful a person is, the less that person makes excuses for anything. Now, this disease of excusitis comes in several forms. And like most diseases, it gets worse if it isn't treated. A victim of this thought disease thinks like this: I'm not doing so well. What can I use as an alibi that'll help me save face? Let's see. Poor health, lack of education, too old, the way my family brought me up. And each time this person uses an excuse, it becomes more deeply embedded in his subconscious. Probably when he first used the excuse, he realized it was just an alibi or a lie. But the more he uses it, the more he believes it, until he is convinced that the excuse is the real reason for his lack of progress. So right now, I want you to vaccinate yourself against excusitis, the disease of failure. There are a number of types of this disease, and when you listen to what follows, you'll find out how to protect yourself against each of them.
Well, I'd like to take on more of the work that would really be important to me, but I really don't see where I have the time to do it. I'm really rushed now just to finish the work that I already have. I can't imagine how I would find more hours in the day to finish more work.
First, let's deal with what may be the most common form of excusitis: time. You hear this one everywhere. I don't have time, or not now, I'm too busy. People who make this excuse are saying, it takes every minute I've got just to keep up. So how do you expect me to put out the extra effort it takes to get ahead? But there's a basic fallacy in this excuse, and this is it. Everybody, whether you're the president of a big company or the paper boy, everybody has exactly the same amount of time. You and I both have 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week, no more, no less. The question is, what do you do with your time?
Most people spend about 51 hours a week sleeping and about 50 hours a week at work, counting commuting time. So far, that's 101 hours. On average, people spend about 15 hours a week eating, figuring 2 hours a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a few minutes here and there for snacks. That's 116 hours. Now throw in 24 hours a week for relaxing, reading, watching television, playing with the kids, making love with your spouse, and getting some exercise. That makes 140 hours. And on top of that, throw in 4 hours a week for going to church or watching a football game. That makes 144 hours. But remember, there are 168 hours in a week. So even after we've eaten, slept, worked, played, made love, and even watched a lot of television, we've still got 24 hours left over. You could watch another 6 hours of television a week and still have 18 hours unaccounted for.
So where do people get this excuse? I haven't got enough time. There is just no truth to the statement. It simply is an alibi for mediocrity, for failing to give yourself the chance to succeed. Successful people don't say, "I don't have time." Successful people welcome new challenges, and they find the time to meet them. There's an old business axiom that says, if you want something done, find the busiest person you can and get them to do it. The truth in that axiom is this: a busy person, a successful person, won't hide behind an excuse. That person wants challenges, wants more business, wants that additional assignment, because a successful person knows that success is a direct product of extra effort.
That's the hard part, because you want to try to surround yourself with like-minded people, but you also got to understand, this is something my father told me a long time ago. I don't know if this translates to you. Let me see. My father said, everybody come with you, can't go with you. Now this is hood, you know what I mean? When I say hood, this is poor people think very richly. Everybody come with you, can't go with you, which means there are some people in your life that can only go with you to a certain point, and they can't go anymore because they cannot think. See, let's say, listen to me. You say, I want to be a doctor. I'm just using that. I couldn't have been a doctor. I'm not that smart. I can't read, that good. So me being a doctor was out the question. And then I don't really care for sick people. So it's just not a good look for me being a doctor. Let's say you want to be a doctor. And you tell some people, I want to be a doctor. And you go to high school and you graduate from high school. And they go, yeah, he's going to be a doctor. And then you go to college. And some people you go to college with drop out of college. And you stay and you say, I am still going to be a doctor. Well, the person that dropped out of college, how can they possibly believe that you will be a doctor when they can't even finish school themselves? So that person goes away. And you go a little bit higher, you graduate from college and you're getting ready to go to medical school, and the people that you went to college with, 2 of them drop off. If they don't get accepted into medical school, then they go away. So how can they possibly think that you will complete the task of being a doctor when they keep falling away? See, it's like this. Let me show you something. When a rocket ship takes off, back in the old days, there was 4 tanks of gas connected to this rocket ship. 4. In the USA at Cape Canaveral, Cape Kennedy, and they go 5, 4, 3, 2. And this rocket starts blasting up. It takes 4 tanks to get the rocket off the ground. But as soon as it comes off the ground, 2 of those tanks stay on the ground. Then as the rocket ship goes higher, back in the day when they used to show the rocket ships taking off, you see it getting high into the sky. You see one more tank fall off into the ocean. It falls into the ocean. Now there's only 1 tank. In order for this rocket to get into orbit, in order for you to get to where God wants you to go, eventually you will have to lose the other tank so that you can get into orbit and start orbiting the earth. If you do not get rid of the tanks along the way, you will be too heavy.
you.